Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. I'm Shaylin Stimson. I'm the events manager here at Tech Manitoba. Thank you so much for joining us today for our tech mashup, Curiouser and Curiouser, exploring AI's potential for business growth. So today we invite you to follow the white rabbit into the fascinating world of artificial intelligence, where innovation meets opportunity. Whether you're just beginning your AI journey or looking to deepen your understanding, this session will equip you with insights and strategies to transform your business and reimagine what is possible. As we gather virtually in Winnipeg for today's event, we'd like to respectfully acknowledge that we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, the homeland of the Métis Nation. We recognize that our community and our work in the technology sector benefits from these lands and the resources here. At Tech Manitoba, we're committed to fostering respectful and inclusive spaces within the tech industry. We recognize the importance of Indigenous knowledge, creativity, and contributions in shaping innovation. As we work to advance technology and digital growth, we remain dedicated We remain dedicated to building relationships and partnerships that respect Indigenous sovereignty, knowledge sharing, and collaboration. We are grateful to live, learn, and work on these lands and are committed to working towards a future that respects histories and contributions of Indigenous peoples in Manitoba and across Canada. So before we get started with the presentation, I did want to give just a couple quick announcements of some of our upcoming events that we have happening. So tomorrow there's an event with Manitoba Women in Tech called Building a Powerful Network. So January 22nd, it is also on Remo, also over lunch hour. We're going to talk about learning how to harness the power of intentional networking, moving beyond surface level interactions to form genuine, impactful connections, and discovering the art of asking powerful questions that inspire curiosity, foster mutual understanding, and lead to meaningful conversations that matter in today's fast-paced, digital, tech-driven world. And then coming up for the end of February, we're working on putting together the second annual Manitoba Tech Week. So Manitoba Tech Week is a special week-long showcase of the best and brightest in Manitoba's vibrant tech community. So there's events for all ages and abilities. This year's theme is Tech Everywhere. So it explores how tech is woven into every aspect of life. Currently, we have over 25 events on the calendar. It is all week long, so there's a little bit of something for everybody. And then to kick off Tech Week, Tech Manitoba is hosting Ignition. So that is an in-person event being held at the Delta. It kicks off on Monday, February 24th, and it is going to be our launch party. So join us for a thought-provoking evening of networking, discussions, and celebration as we come together to put a spotlight on the technology's transformative potential for Manitoba. So that one, tickets are on sale until February 2nd. I will pop links to all of those events into the chat shortly. So as we get started, let's meet our presenters for today's journey through AI and innovation. So I invite Adele and Mark to join me here on stage. Adele is the principal consultant and user experience architect at Online Digital Studio and is curious and clever guide through the emerging technologies. With 24 years of experience at the intersection of innovation and digital product strategy, Adele has a gift for blending business, vision, technical possibility, and user-centered design. Her pragmatic and co-creative approach to problem solving has been described as magical and inspiring, making her the perfect white rabbit to lead us through today's discussion. Joining her is Mark, the principal consultant at Online Business Systems and chief analytics officer at Max Analytics. With over 2 decades of experience in data AI, Mark is the master of analytics, known for balancing technical precision with cultural insight to navigate the complexities of AI adoption. Like the Cheshire Cat, he appears at just the right moment to offer clear guidance and sharp solutions, bringing together a touch of wonder in the world of analytics. So together, Adele and Mark will illuminate how AI can transform businesses and spark meaningful innovation. Please help us give a warm welcome to Adele and Mark.
Okay, I'm just getting the content here. Well, thank you, Shaylin, and everyone for welcoming us and that lovely introduction and joining us on this cold day. If you're anywhere below the 53rd, it's pretty chilly.
Oh, there we go. Looks like
there we go. Right. So Mark and I are here with Online Business Systems. Together, and with 400 of our colleagues around the globe, we bring digital transformations to life securely. Online is founded here in Winnipeg, and I will tell anyone who asks how proud I am to work with prairie-based innovators to create world-class technology. Which brings us to our topic here today. Mark, if you don't mind advancing the slide. Well, Mark is an expert in all things data and is at the forefront of AI. I've been working in emerging technology since Shockwave was a thing, if any of you can remember that. And I've been looking at it from the perspective of human-computer interaction, design, and product strategy. We come from very different backgrounds, but the one thing we found is how profoundly AI has really shifted the rug under our feet and how quickly. Unlike any other tech we've seen in recent years anyway, it feels like we've been transported into a new place with unforeseen complexities, and our ideas on how things should work are knocked a bit off kilter. But we can't help but be drawn into new and exciting perspectives that it's opening our minds to. So I invite you to follow us into this wonderland. We'll set the stage and then move into 5 dimensions of AI maturity: vision, people, process, technology, and governance. You'll have an opportunity to reflect on where your business is at, and we'll share practical insights to help you navigate your own journey into the world of AI. So if we could go to the next slide. I'd like to set a little context for the impacts of AI by looking at how our relationships with technology have evolved. As we went from using tech to enable our business to being our business, there have been some big shifts in how we work and our expectations of technology and each other. So I'm going to share an example with you. I used to work with a brilliant engineer who would describe the work she did back in the 60s using punch cards. She had to understand the entire mechanism and computer system in order to give it complete instructions. So she'd enter all this into the system and then come back the next day to review an entire big book of items to make sure she got it right. Now, this was the first wave of UX. All the instructions up front, very explicit on what to do, no emphasis on why. Does this sound like anyone you may have worked with? As things progressed, we started to see more real-time feedback from the computer. So we still give instructions, but the feedback loops are tighter and they tend to build on each other. This is the wave we've been in since the 80s. You know, visual interfaces have since replaced DOS prompts, the speed of computing has increased, and so has our expectations. Keywords became our instructions. It became the way we created content and the way we consumed it. We skim, we use hashtags, we organize our content by what people want to do. We keep it short and sweet in the way we communicate and in the way we deliver our work. Movies are shorter, and so is customer patience. So now we're in this new wave. We're sort of in the emerging state of a new wave, and it's a real mind shift. Because instead of telling the computer how to do its job with explicit instructions, we're telling it the outcome we want and giving it context into why it matters. And that helps the computer actually give us a more accurate output. It works very quickly. So this requires us to get very clear on the outcome and let go of some of the control in the meantime. And I do wonder what this might mean for how we solve problems, for how we communicate to each other and to our general expectations. So I have an example here on the side, this image. I've included the prompt that I used as well in Adobe Firefly. So I thought to myself, sure, let's create a girl following a white rabbit down a path. And what I received was this sort of anime-looking image where the girl and the rabbit are morphed together. And I love it. It's so cool. And I totally didn't think of it myself. What it represents to me, though, is what might be possible when we let go of control a little bit. Kind of art, new value, and new ideas can we bring to the table when we get more precise about the outcome and less precise about the explicit steps on how it's achieved? What if we organized our content by what a person wanted to learn from it? What if the content wasn't organized at all and just displayed on based on somebody's query? I posit that AI is a call to be a better communicator, a better leader, and to be more adaptable. What do you think, Mark?
That's great, Adele. And you really set the stage there. I think that's fantastic. I'd like to add to that sort of stage setting and take a moment to align on what we mean by artificial intelligence. Although AI has become very topical over the last couple of years, AI isn't just a buzzword, it's an evolving field that's been around for decades. It's a broad discipline filled with techniques and technologies that solve problems, uncover insights, and when done well, create real value. More recently, tools like ChatGPT have brought generative AI into the spotlight. While it's exciting, and it's a fantastic example of what AI can do, it's just one part of a much larger story. AI's potential goes far beyond generating text or images. At the core of every AI system is data. Without it, there's no foundation to build on. Data is what fuels AI. It gives it the context to learn, the power to adapt, and the means to create impact. In many ways, data and AI are inseparable. But AI isn't just a technical exercise, it's a transformation. And transformation demands some structure. It's not about downloading the newest tool, it's about growing in the 5 key areas that Adele mentioned: vision, people, process technology, and governance and leadership. These dimensions give us the maturity to make AI sustainable and impactful. As we progress through our presentation, we're going to ask one key question for each of these 5 dimensions with the idea of helping you perform your own high-level assessment of where your organization's data and AI journey is at. In the weeks that follow, we'll be making available a slightly more involved self-assessment for you to conduct on your own. We also have an even more comprehensive review of your maturity level and readiness as part of our engagements, which typically lead into the development of a strategy and roadmap, should that interest you. As we move forward, we'll explore these areas. It all starts with vision, because without a clear vision, it's easy to get lost in all of the possibilities. So let's start there and see how the journey begins. Let's join Alice as she journeys through Wonderland. Act 1, Vision, charting paths through unwritten maps. As Alice wanders through a dense and misty forest, she feels overwhelmed by the floating dashboards and data points swirling around her. Suddenly, she spots a curious caterpillar perched atop a mushroom who regards her with a steady gaze. "Who are you?" he asks. Alice hesitates. She's collecting all this data, but she's not sure what she's trying to achieve. The caterpillar, in its cryptic way, tells her, "If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there." This moment illustrates the importance of vision in any journey with AI and data. Vision isn't just about creating a lofty aspiration. It's about defining the why. Why are we investing in AI? What outcomes are we trying to achieve? Without this clarity, we risk wandering aimlessly, overwhelmed by possibilities, but lacking direction. First, vision sets the course. It answers fundamental questions. Are we solving a specific challenge? Are we enhancing a particular process? Or are we trying to transform how we operate as an organization? Second, vision aligns efforts. Imagine your team as a group of rowers. If everyone has a slightly different understanding of the destination, their efforts will conflict. Defining the vision ensures everyone is rowing in the same direction, united toward a shared goal. Lastly, vision ensures outcomes align with purpose. AI can do many things, but not all of them likely align with your identity as an organization. KPIs tied to your vision help prioritize meaningful applications of AI and avoid distractions. So consider this. Do you need an AI strategy, or do you need AI to support your enterprise strategy? It's a subtle but profound difference. AI is a tool, a means to an end. Your strategy, the vision, must come first, guiding how AI fits into the broader story. Like Alice in Wonderland, we might feel surrounded by opportunities and directions, but it's the clarity of knowing who we are and where we want to go that transforms AI from a curiosity into a purposeful ally. So, while you contemplate whether you need an AI strategy, we come to the first dimension of our framework, vision. Vision is foundational. It sets the course and serves as a guide for everything that follows in your AI and data journey. So our first question is this: how clearly has your organization defined its data and AI vision? At one end, we have organizations where formalized vision is lacking. The direction feels fragmented, with no clear goals or purpose driving data and AI initiatives. Here, AI risks becoming a collection of shiny tools without meaningful outcomes. Then there's the middle ground, organizations with a formal vision that aligns with specific business needs. The intent is clear and the goals are defined, but here's the challenge. The vision often remains on paper, not fully operationalized or embedded into the fabric of the organization. Finally, on the other end, we have organizations with a well-articulated company-wide vision. These organizations use their data and AI vision as a strategic compass, aligning it closely with their long-term goals. This is where AI becomes a true enabler of transformation, not just a collection of experiments. So take a moment and ask yourself, where are you today? A well-defined vision is about more than just ambition. It's about creating clarity for your teams, focus for your efforts, and a shared understanding of what success looks like. As we continue through the framework, keep this in mind. Vision is the anchor. Without it, the other dimensions, people, process, technology, and governance, may lack coherence and impact. It all starts here. So as we go through this, I encourage you to sort of jot down these elements: vision, people, process, technology, and just estimate what you think your organization's current maturity level is. You'll notice that there's only 1, 3, and 5. If you're kind of thinking you're between 1 and 3, jot down a 2. At the end, we're not going to ask you to share your scores, but you can reflect on the mix of scores that you have. Act 2, people, the strength of many hands. As Alice wandered deeper into Wonderland, she came upon a maze of glass walls. Inside, people worked furiously, typing and analyzing, but none seemed to notice one another. She tapped on a wall, and a sleepy voice answered it. It was the dormouse, nestled atop a pile of papers. "Why don't they talk to each other?" Alice asked. The dormouse yawned. "Oh, they're too busy in their silos, each solving their own piece, but forgetting the bigger picture." He smiled faintly and added, "Collaboration, my dear, is the only way forward." And that's exactly the challenge organizations face when it comes to people and AI adoption. Collaboration is the first and most essential step. Diverse perspectives aren't just valuable, they're critical. Without them, you risk building systems that are disconnected and incomplete. But collaboration isn't enough on its own. Upskilling and reskilling are non-negotiable. The pace of AI-driven change will only accelerate, and preparing your teams to adapt will determine how successfully you can navigate what's ahead. Equally important, human expertise has to guide AI. AI systems can only be as ethical and thoughtful as the people designing and implementing them. Ethical decision-making is a skill, and it has to be part of the learning process. Finally, culture is the foundation of AI success. AI doesn't just live in systems, it thrives in an environment that encourages curiosity, collaboration, and adaptability. So ask yourself, is your organization's culture ready to support this journey? Consider this. As AI continues to evolve, it's reshaping the landscape of skills we've long associated with data science. Coding and mathematics, once seen as gatekeepers to data insights, are becoming more accessible to a broader audience thanks to AI-powered tools. This doesn't mean coding and math are becoming irrelevant, far from it, but AI tips the scales, highlighting that professional experience and domain expertise are often the most valuable ingredients for creating meaningful value from data. Whether we're talking about a single data scientist or an entire team of data professionals, the essential mix of coding, math, and domain knowledge is shifting. And it's this shift impacts hiring practices today. Are you hiring for curiosity? Because in the world of AI, curiosity is often the spark that leads to innovation. Without it, you might not be getting the full value from your investment in people. The future of data isn't just technical, it's human. It's driven by those who are eager to ask questions, explore possibilities, and connect the dots in new ways. As we delve deeper into the people dimension, let's turn our focus to the culture of decision-making within your organization. How well does your culture embrace data-driven collaboration? This is a vital question as it sets the stage for how effectively AI and data initiatives can take root. At level 1, the most basic level, data-driven decision-making is not prioritized. Decisions tend to be based on intuition or tradition, leaving data as an afterthought. In the middle, there's some progress. Initiatives are underway and certain departments embrace data-driven practices. But this is still fragmented and not yet part of the organization's DNA. At the highest level, data-driven decision-making is deeply embedded in the culture. Both leaders and employees prioritize data as an important tool, shaping decisions across the organization. Reflect on where your organization stands today. Is data a cornerstone of your culture, or is there still work to be done to align collaboration and decision-making with a data-driven mindset? This self-awareness is the first step in building a foundation for success. So again, if you want to jot down people and sort of keep track of your score, this might come in handy later on. Act 3, process, steps that shape the journey. Alice stumbles into a chaotic tea party where the Mad Hatter is loudly proclaiming, "It's always tea time," plates clatter, teacups spill, and no one seems to know what's happening next. "Why don't you organize things?" Alice asks. The Hatter waves his hand dismissively. "Oh, there's no time for that. Processes just slow us down." Processes often feel like they get in the way, like they add layers of complexity to what should be straightforward. But in truth, well-designed processes aren't about slowing us down. They're about creating clarity and enabling innovation. Process is the bridge between vision and execution, the connection between dreaming and doing. When we think about AI, our processes need to evolve to leverage its strengths. Consider iterative processes that test, learn, and refine cycles that allow us to experiment, fail fast, and continuously improve. AI thrives in environments where these loops are built in, where it's okay to try something new and learn from what works or doesn't. And let's not forget simplicity. Sometimes the most transformative steps you can take are to simplify a process. By reducing unnecessary friction, you not only make AI easier to adopt, but also empower teams to focus on work that matters most. Here's the key question. Are your processes optimized to embrace AI's strengths like automation, pattern recognition, and prediction? Or are you retrofitting AI into old ways of working, like the Mad Hatter scrambling to keep up with the chaos of tea time? To make this real, think about a company introducing predictive analytics for inventory management. A retrofitted process might mean using the AI's predictions, but still manually adjusting every order. An optimized process would redesign the workflow, automating routine decisions and focusing human effort on exceptions where intuition and expertise are invaluable. Processes, when done right, are not barriers. They are pathways that help us transform potential into progress. And that brings us to creativity, where AI truly shines as a collaborator. To explore this further, I'll pass it over to Adele, who will dive into some practical approaches for tapping into AI's creative potential. Over to you, Adele.
Well, thanks, Mark. So, question for you: Do you consider yourself creative? Even if you feel your job is to plug numbers into spreadsheets and spit out facts, I think there's an opportunity for creative thinking in every task. And as we start to explore how we might, use AI, how we might integrate it into our work, I implore you to reconsider yourself as a creative. I've gathered a few approaches inspired by artists that might help you move the needle personally or as part of your innovation initiatives. So we'll start with number 1. Artists often take on a daily sketch practice. It's a small activity that keeps their skills sharp, but it also allows them to start exploring new ways of thinking and seeing. So how might you do this with AI? Could you try Copilot to give you a recap in your next meeting? Or ChatGPT instead of a Google search? Could you get Firefly to make an image for your next presentation, like my cute little bunny there, instead of scouring the internet? As you try it, you'll get a better sense of how to prompt and what the capabilities of the different tools are. Thematic exploration is about taking one thing and trying it in different ways, like how an artist might study a flower or a still life throughout the day. Try creating an image in Midjourney and then animating it in Runway. Or try the same prompt in Firefly and DALL-E and compare the results. Another thing you'll see an artist do is prioritize the process over the output. You'll see that the process of creating the art, the paint selection, the way the brush moves, the way the clay feels in their hands, becomes part of the art itself. So instead of worrying about the output, consider the prompts you're using, how you play with it, how you move things around, the types of words that you use. What's possible if you mix things up? What happens if you create different settings for how you want the GPT to respond to you? As you do this, you might consider combining tools, Midjourney plus Copilot in Excel, or maybe AI plus something in the real world, like using Claude to come up with ideas for a recipe that you make. This type of material exploration can produce really cool and unique ideas quickly. Early in my career, I attended a conference where an artist talked about combining a daily practice with something longer tail. She'd create a piece over the course of a year. It gave her the opportunity to go deep on an idea and work through those challenging aspects, like a big project that gives you something to chew on. But she combined it with short projects, little daily or 1-week assignments that could give her an inspiration boost or practice a technique she'd like to try in her main work. You may have heard me talk about continual discovery. This is kind of getting into that. Doing both of these gave her new perspectives and depth in her work. This kind of practice is not so dissimilar from some of the best practices we see in innovation and in agile. So for instance, how might you take a 3-horizon approach and work on your near-term efficiencies while exploring the art of the possible? These things can exist together. So if we go to the next slide, one of the things you've heard me talk about, or one of the ways that I like to work anyway, is through a process called design thinking. And it's meant to focus on solving problems quickly and iteratively. AI, for example, can be used to help you understand things throughout this process with more depth and to create speed through testing or iterations. One of my favorite tools is something called makereal.tldraw.com. I'm going to go to the next slide, Mark. I want to show you a little video of something I made. So what you can see is a digital whiteboard drawing that I made of a product page. So the idea is that you simply see a product and you scan your face and then your order is confirmed. So Mark, if you press play, take you through how this works. So I drew this out, selected all the items and clicked make real. And here it comes. Look at that, a clickable prototype, very quick, and gives us an idea of what it would be like to use and what it would feel like. This isn't the final interface, but it's fun, right? Creates a little bit of excitement in your workday and brings your ideas to life. So, my best piece of advice is to use AI to make your job more enjoyable, or to make your employee or customer experience more enjoyable. Replace the parts that are boring and repetitive, that take time away from you doing, monotonous things, so that you have more time to focus on your value, what lights you up, what retains your employees or attracts sales. I think back to you in the studio, Mark.
Thanks, Adele. A lot of approaches and ideas there about how to use AI as a collaborator. Really great stuff. This brings us to our third self-assessment question. Let's take a closer look at how organizations evolve their processes. At level 1, processes are informal or inconsistent. Decisions are often made based on intuition or past habits, with no organization-wide approach to managing or analyzing data. At level 3, organizations are making progress. Initiatives to promote data-driven decision-making are underway, and some departments are adopting structured processes. However, it's still not fully integrated across the organization. At level 5, processes are part of the organization's DNA. Data-driven decision-making is prioritized and deeply embedded in the culture. Both leaders and employees rely on clear, repeatable processes to guide innovation and ensure alignment. Processes may not always get the spotlight, but they are critical to scaling data, and AI success. The question to ask yourself is, are your processes moving you closer to your goals, or are they holding you back? Act 4, technology and infrastructure, bridges to the impossible. As Alice approaches a fork in the road, she notices the Cheshire cat perched on a branch, grinning from ear to ear. "Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?" Alice asks, glancing nervously at the divergent path. "That depends a great deal on where you want to go," the cat replies, his grin widening. Alice hesitates. "I'm not sure. I just want to make the right choice." The cat chuckles softly. "One path offers shallow insights, quick and easy, but fleeting in value. The other leads to profound understanding, but it demands effort, patience, and a sturdy foundation to support the journey." He leans closer, his glowing eyes twinkling. "Choose wisely, Alice, for the depths of insights are only as strong as the infrastructure you build beneath them." Just like Alice's journey, every step forward in AI and data initiatives must be supported by technology that can scale. Without this foundation, even the best ideas can falter under the weight of complexity. Imagine choosing a path but stumbling over gaps and obstacles because your tools and systems don't talk to each other. Integration isn't just about connecting pieces, it's about enabling seamless collaboration and maximizing the value of your investments. The Cheshire Cat's cryptic smile reminds us of the hidden risks. Security and ethical considerations must be woven into the very fabric of our technology, not bolted on as an afterthought. At the heart of the cat's advice is this truth: the path to meaningful AI insights depends on well-governed, high-quality data. Without it, we risk significant uncertainty and making decisions on shaky ground. Much like Alice's dilemma, your organization's success hinges on the technology and infrastructure choices you make. The key is to align these decisions with your long-term goals, ensuring they are as secure, integrated, and scalable as the journey demands. The question is, which path will you take? So the strength of the path ahead depends on the foundation beneath it. This mirrors the importance of your organization's technology and infrastructure. Without a modern, scalable framework, or even the best strategies will risk crumbling under the weight of execution. Our fourth question focuses on your data infrastructure. How modern and scalable is your organization's technology infrastructure? At level 1, the road is full of cracks and potholes. Outdated systems struggle to meet even today's business demands, let alone tomorrow's challenges. Scalability is a significant barrier, making every step forward feel like an uphill climb. At level 3, the path is smoother, but it's not without its bumps. Efforts to improve scalability and integration are underway, but the infrastructure is not yet fully equipped to handle growing demands. Progress is possible, but it's not seamless. Level 5 is the well-paved highway. A modern, highly scalable infrastructure ensures that both current and future business needs are met with ease. It allows for smooth execution, enabling organizations to focus on insights and innovation without being bogged down by technical limitations. Just as Alice must choose her path wisely, organizations need to evaluate their technology infrastructure critically. The key question is this: does your current setup enable progress, or does it hold you back? The choice, much like Alice's, will define how far and how fast you can go. Act 5, governance and leadership, balancing scales in a chaotic world. Alice finds herself swept into a chaotic court of the Queen of Hearts, where confusion reigns supreme. The air is thick with tension as the Queen's booming voice echoes through the chamber. Sentence first, verdict afterwards. Alice looks around bewildered. The courtiers scramble to follow orders without understanding the rules, and decisions are made on a whim. No one dares to question the Queen, and the lack of structure creates a flurry of mistakes and frustration. As Alice watches, she notices how the lack of clear governance is affecting everyone. Plans crumble, resources are wasted, and no one knows what to prioritize. Finally, summoning her courage, Alice steps forward and asks, "Your Majesty, how can anyone follow orders when the rules keep changing?" The Queen pauses, her gaze narrowing. "Rules? Bah! Rules are for those who cannot act." Alice frowns, but the rules are what guide us to act wisely, Your Majesty. Without them, how do we know the path to fairness or success? The Queen's decree, sentence first, verdict afterwards, may work for dramatic effect, but it's no way to lead. Leadership, especially in the world of data and AI, requires something very different. It starts with setting a vision, and leadership provides the clarity to align AI initiatives with what the organization is trying to achieve. Without that, even the best technologies and processes can feel disconnected and aimless. Next, governance plays a crucial role. It builds trust in AI systems, ensuring fairness, transparency, and accountability. Governance is what allows teams and stakeholders to rely on AI decisions, knowing they're rooted in sound practices and ethical principles. Governance also equips organizations to adapt in a rapidly changing world. AI and data landscapes are evolving constantly, and governance ensures we can respond to new challenges while staying grounded in our values and long-term goals. Finally, I'll leave you with this question. How do you ensure trust and transparency in your AI systems? Because that's what it all comes down to, trust. It's the foundation of every successful AI initiative. Alice reminded the Queen that rules guide us to act wisely. I would encourage you to do likewise by building the governance and leadership needed to do the same in your organizations. Leadership is the cornerstone of effective data and AI strategies. When leaders prioritize and champion data initiatives, they send a clear message about its value. Conversely, a lack of leadership focus can leave data efforts floundering, disconnected from broader business goals. So, how effectively does your leadership prioritize and support data and analytics initiatives? At level 1, leadership provides little or no support for data and analytics initiatives. These efforts are often seen as low priority or non-essential, leaving teams without direction or advocacy. At level 3, leadership shows support for data initiatives, but prioritization is inconsistent. While there's recognition of their importance, data efforts are not always fully integrated into broader business strategies, causing misalignment. And at level 5, leadership consistently prioritizes and champions data and analytics initiatives. These efforts are recognized as critical to driving business strategy and innovation, with leaders actively embedding them into the organization's vision and operations. Effective leadership is about more than acknowledging the value of data. It's about making it central to the organization's strategy and empowering teams to innovate. So where does your organization stand? Are data initiatives a priority for your leadership, or do they risk being left in the shadows? As we come to the end of our journey through Wonderland, we're reminded that navigating the complexities of AI adoption is not unlike Alice's adventure. It's a winding path full of questions, surprises, and lessons about aligning vision, people, processes, technology, and governance and leadership. The journey through Wonderland mirrors the complexities of adopting AI. There's no one-size-fits-all map, but with the right approach, clarity emerges. Second, successful AI adoption requires alignment across all the dimensions we've explored today. Each element supports the others, creating a framework for transformation. Maturing your practice is more about creating balance among these 5 dimensions, as opposed to maximizing any one specific dimension. Next, actionable insights don't just appear. They start with reflection and deliberate planning. Much like Alice's reflections on her choices, effective AI strategies require thought and care. And finally, AI isn't just about efficiency, it's about redefining what's possible. When we approach it with intention, the results can be transformative. This self-assessment is your chance to pause and reflect. Where does your organization stand? What's clear and what needs work? Initially, you may have more questions than answers. Focusing on these 5 dimensions, however, can be a useful framework to help answer many of those questions. And with that, I'll pass things back to Adele to bring us home.
All right. Well, thanks, Mark. Thanks for all of that. So how did you guys feel about all those dimensions? I would encourage you to let that sort of sink in over the next couple of hours and days, and reflect on which ones require the most attention for you to create some balance or to get started in your AI journey. Maybe one of those artist techniques is even just all you need to sort of start thinking about things a little differently. If you're looking for more tips and tricks on data, AI, and user experience, feel free to follow Mark Struck or myself, Adele Rewards, on LinkedIn. You can check out our online business systems channel as well, or reach out directly. We'd love to help you take your business into the next wave of UX. And I'd like to remind you that this is a journey, not a destination. So even while we're thinking about vision and outputs, I would encourage us all to keep that creative Bob Ross mindset of learning as we go and staying curious, my friends. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mark and Adele, for sharing your expertise on how to leverage AI and transform your business. We'd now like to open the floor up to questions. So you'll notice there is a Q&A tab just over from the chat where you can pop your questions in, and you can also upvote others' questions as well. So let's dive in. Let's see which one's the most popular here. Okay. What are some creative or unexpected ways you've seen AI being used to solve problems, enhance experiences, or spark innovation at Online?
I have a bit of an advantage over you on Mark on this one, just because I checked the questions out. So I thought I'd just share one that I thought was just super cool. So we have an innovation lab, and I'm hoping it's okay that I share what they've been coming up with. One of the team members took me through this component they made that would allow people to use language to search their reporting instead of a million filters and tables. And as someone who's very interested in user experience and has to design a lot of reports and data, I found it really refreshing to find a new way to take this human-computer interaction in a business critical setting and turn it on its head and really get a little bit more value out of it. So I'm very excited about ways we could start to solve I want to say like product problems that we come across almost every day. Anyway, that's one of the ones I thought was really exciting. Mark, have you seen anything?
Yeah, maybe just add to that. So I can remember when generative AI was, first being launched with ChatGPT. Obviously, there was a huge set of people that had kind of not really been part of AI who were now part of it, and that was wonderful because the perspectives that came to the table were maybe some perspectives that hadn't been there before. Some of the early ways in which we were sort of thinking, oh, this is really novel, were things that are now standard. Things like being able to ask questions of your documents. There's Notebook LM. If you have not been to this website, is a wonderful website for being able to ask questions and really research the source documents for opinions and methods. And then eventually that kind of transitioned into, ask your data questions. And that seems to be also now beginning to be table stakes. So, I think the thing is that I've experienced is that by jumping in to sort of the AI space and poking around with these tools and trying different approaches, like Adele had sort of suggested, it keeps you sort of fresh in your thinking, and the next great idea, could come from you. So I think it's, what I would sort of suggest on that front is, just like our slide here shows, stay curious. It's about sort of jumping in and learning about the opportunities that are there, and who knows what kinds of ideas you'll generate.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mark and Adele, for both answering that question. It's nice to get both perspectives. The next question here are, what are some major challenges you encountered transitioning to a more AI-ready organization? How did you overcome them? And how has AI impacted online businesses' growth? So I guess, just really starting off with, what are the challenges and how did you overcome them?
I think one of the first challenges is governance.
Yes.
How do you take a company of 400 people that are all kind of like go-getter type people, ideator people, technical people and say, so what would you do with this? And then kind of move us together in the right path. And so we've been, very fortunate in the way our leadership allows us to explore and keep us a bit centered. But that was one of the things, like at first, that we were like, oh, you're doing that? Oh, I'm doing this. Well, and trying to, move us all forward together as we were doing that, going in the big picture and everyone doing the small picture things. That's anyway what I found. Mark, what did you see?
Yeah, it's kind of a change in mindset. When you start to use these tools, how you think about solving problems starts to change a little bit. Kind of highlighted in one of Adele's early slides there, where a lot of the focus becomes on, what is the critical output that you're trying to generate. So, yeah, a little bit more of a focus maybe on, how you sort of meander through your own curiosity and sort of figure out how to work with AI. In terms of how has AI impacted online's business growth? We were seeing a lot of clients who are interested in understanding more about the potential behind AI. And one of the ways that we've started to help organizations is creating a bit more structure about how they go about having that conversation. And so one of the things that I do is start the conversation with your KPIs. And so once you have a sense of your KPIs, then you can talk about, well, which processes are impacting those KPIs, and then ultimately which decisions and pain points, specifically pain points, do you want to overcome in that process to optimize that KPI. So we kind of bring a little bit more structure to the conversation around how to use AI from an enterprise applications perspective.
That makes a lot of sense. I always say that too. You have to figure out first what is the goal of why you're wanting to implement something, and then work backwards from there. Tying into the whole curiouser theme that we're going off of today. And I get this question a ton when we do AI-based events, but it was asked, what are some of the key resources, they moved on me. What are some key resources and insights into the AI landscape, specific AI tools that you find most useful? So I find often everyone's talking about using AI and implementing it. I feel like most people now are very familiar with the idea of ChatGPT, but what are some other programs that you work with often?
Well, one of the things I like to do is follow people on LinkedIn, and maybe that sounds obvious, but there's a few people who produce scripts and prompts, and then I like to try them out. So I like to keep like a little list of things that I thought were cool, and particularly like there's a few people I find Midjourney a little bit counterintuitive. So I'm like, oh, that's how you broke that down and you made that thing. Now I'm going to try that and try to make my own thing. And so I actually used it to make a character, like so a story map or a storyboard of a single character doing different things related to a persona we had developed. And then they showed how to animate it in Runway. And so I just sometimes imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, or the way that we need to learn. So I've been doing that as a bit of a cheat code.
Just to add to that, I think one of the most difficult things in the AI space right now is keeping up with the pace of change. There's every week there's something new. So I'll be honest here. One of the sources I rely on is YouTube. There are a number of different producers out there who follow all of the new tech. And you can quickly, in 30 minutes, learn about all of the new releases that came out in the last week. So if you really want to stay at the cutting edge and keep current, YouTube can be your friend.
Wonderful. Thank you. I've also found there's some really great newsletters or different thought leaders that you can follow that way too. And they're always sort of giving updates of what's new and exciting in the ever evolving world of AI. This question comes from Liz, and she was saying, what was that tool again with building the product in the face scan?
Yeah. So I was just a little idea I made up out of nowhere. I just thought, oh, hey, this is cool. Let me draw it. And I used makereal.tldraw.com. I put it in the chat. There's an opportunity inside of that to connect it to an API. And so I use the Chat GPT API, but if you have a cloud subscription, you can use that one as well, or pair it together.
Thank you. I just noticed that you had it in the chat there too. That's super helpful. What is considered modern infrastructure that we should be working towards? Which infrastructure elements are obviously outdated that we should be replacing or eliminating? So I guess this is centered around adopting more AI inside of an organization.
Yeah, so I would say first start with cloud. Anything sort of on-prem is going to be limiting in terms of its processing capability. And so depending on what you're trying to do with AI, the compute is readily available through sort of a cloud option. In terms of one specific thing in sort of from an infrastructure standpoint is sort of how you manage your data. So if you're really trying to create an organization that can think, say, laterally in terms of the data assets that it has, creating a proper infrastructure that follows, we use a medallion architecture for our data, meaning that we have sort of raw data, slightly processed data, and then data that's really ready for consumption. And if you create that kind of infrastructure, then sharing your data, maybe from one area of the organization to another area of the organization, can be aided. So I would say that one of the great ways that organizations can evolve in using their data is to stop thinking just about the data from the applications that you're most natively familiar with, but also think about other areas of the organization and the kind of data that they're cultivating and whether that could be sort of intermixed with the data you're working with to create new insights or new opportunities.
Right. And if you wouldn't mind me tacking on to that, I think it may be a bit antiquated to have a data first approach to organizing your data. If you think about how you want to use the data, who is using it, and what they want to understand as a result, you can create far more usable outcomes when you're creating and setting up your architecture. So even if you're thinking about, like, we might want to use an LLM, right? That's going to change the decisions that you make in how you set the data up behind the scenes and how you might want to create the various connection points between those different areas of your business. I've just found that even in a traditional data setting, anytime you're setting it up, nothing is more frustrating than hearing, oh, well, we can't connect those two bits together, right? You're gonna have to download that, put that in Excel, and then make a little chart. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, actually, we see entire organizations that operate that way. Their integrations between teams is like, okay, I download from my application and then I organize that information and then I pass it over to the next team who then has to try and make sense of it and sometimes load that information into their application. So, organizations that are operating like that, well, they represent real opportunity for taking quick steps forward.
What did we have? We had a term for that at one point. It was like Excel chaos or something.
To build on that whole notion of data sets supporting specific teams, I think it's really at the core of silos that get created within organizations. You get to a point where areas of the organization will talk about their data, as if it's not a shared asset for the entire organization. And I get that in some cases there is a specific, form of that, or, that maybe need, tighter security around, say, HR data or something like that. But to consider data sets as your own data, well, first off, it creates a bit of a language around that data, which then, creates a bit of an island that you're operating on. So, and then the other thing I would just sort of highlight is that for every application, you have back end teams that are supporting that application and front end teams that are using that application. And I would really advocate for a shared language between those two teams. Oftentimes you get different languages used. And you walk into a meeting and now one person is talking about something and the other half of the room just turned their brain off because they didn't understand the first words that came out of that person's mouth. So it's something to work towards as a shared language between the front end and back end.
That is awesome, because one time I actually was working on a project and we had a little side project on aligning terminology, because as teams came together, just the relationships between data elements, let's say like account and sub-account, for example, like, so you have that kind of parent-child relationship. People were using the same terms, but to mean different aspects of the relationship.
Right.
And it was like just a who's on first comedy of errors. And so, yeah, anything you can do there to, like, it's interesting how this becomes your culture, right? So think about the culture you want to create, and the way that you go about creating business critical systems should be a reflection of the culture you want to create, because it's going to feed back in. Like, maybe that person who was giving all the extra instructions up front that I mentioned, and then come back the next day and see how it went, right? Or how this iterative approach we've had with fast technology and our ability to do quick instructions has led to us having more agile, right? Now agile has become a way. What's next for agile if the dynamic of how we create things is completely put on its head? This is what I think about when I'm at home, guys.
There's so many different things that are going to need to change as we continue to adopt AI. I love the suggestion of building out a shared language. I think that happens so often to like keep different areas end up in their different silos. That image that was in the slideshow resonates so strongly in my mind, where they're all in different cubes there when Alice was walking down the path. But yeah, definitely finding a way that you can clearly communicate and collaborate. I think we have time for one more question, so I'll just do the last one at the top here. And it's, which data governance process or control is most critical when implementing AI?
This is a great question. If I could start off here, Adele. So two things come to mind: transparency and explainability. So AI is great, but it's also difficult to understand the reasoning sometimes behind the output. And so I think that when implementing AI, and of course this comes down to the use case, but let's assume that you've got a use case where there are end users that are going to be consuming or somehow impacted by the output from the AI. Holding transparency and explainability above all else becomes key. What does that output mean? How did it arrive at that output? And just think about the demands of the end user, depending on that use case. If you're using AI to sort of make decisions that directly impact customers, and you want to be really clear about the why behind the what. So I would hold out transparency and explainability as critical components of any AI implementation.
Right. And then the other thing I'd add, as a nice healthy dose of fear, is just being very clear on the privacy of the data that you're putting in the systems. Sometimes people think that they've subscribed to ChatGPT, the paid version, and then that makes their data private, but it doesn't. You really do need to make sure you're using your AI tools effectively with data. So I would say that's probably another control that I'm always really wary of, because, what if somebody's doing that with my data, right? Shaylin, can we take a quick sec on that last question, or are we at time?
Absolutely, continue.
Well, there's a question in the chat about the fear AI is going to replace people's jobs or lead to a culture that's not focused on people. And yeah, like, that is a fear, and that's a legit fear to have. The way that I've been approaching it, because, what if I get botted out of my job?
Mhm.
Is to focus on, you know, this like idea of ikigai. Like, where do I provide value? Where am I contributing something of importance that's me versus the idea that I'm just copying and pasting between blocks? So I think this isn't as any technology in general. Focus on the part that you love, that you can find value in, and allow the rest to kind of fall away so that you can evolve to the next stage of the evolution. And this will happen with your business in general as well, right? Because we don't want to be necessarily botted out. But these businesses that have evolved, that are around for 34 years, like, I don't know, online, do this by continually reevaluating where's our value proposition here,
Right.
and letting the other things kind of do what they need to do, right?
Mhm.
That's my advice anyway.
I'll just give that the thumbs up. That's a great response. Yeah.
Yes. I've also heard lots too, if that is a concern, make sure you're an early adapter. Like, learn how to use AI, play with it, become curious, because you're going to be the more valuable employee if you know how to work with it moving forward.
Fair
And that
point.
ties into everything you said about being curious today. So I think it's a nice way to round that out. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today for Curiouser and Curiouser. I hope this conversation sparked some new curiosity in you, left you with some new insights on how AI can transform your business, inspire innovation. Huge thank you to Adele and Mark. Thank you for guiding us through the fascinating journey with your expertise and creativity. And now we're going to step back into our regular world. So I do encourage you to stick around. If you have a bit more time, we can network amongst the tables here. I'm going to keep the platform open for about another 15 minutes so you can enjoy connecting with your peers. And I hope to see everybody at the next Tech Mashup and future Tech Week events. Thank you, everyone.